and welcome to another episode of the Captain's Academy. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Phoenix Starworks Starlancer. Starlancer is the successor to the Sarissa program, which was a starter SV. Here, this is also a starter SV with the Starlancer. The Starlancer has improved much of the upgrade path over the Sarissa, including additional beefier thrusters, a slightly larger compartment, and a little bit of a increase to armor profile. Speaking of the compartment, let's go ahead and take a look at that. That's where we're going to be starting at. So take a note here. We got a number of LCDs to help you out with your upgrade path or getting an idea of what these markings are. We also have a optional color configuration, two of which, one being the default purple and the crimson and charcoal color configuration. Take note, there's going to be more additional colors on the workshop post. Now, so there's a lot to look at here with all these letters. So let's get into that. So our H here, this is going to be our cargo extension for our harvest. So if we would want to expand upon our harvest capacity, we just would drag blocks any direction that we want to. Same thing for our ammo over here. So this is going to be our warp drive here. We'd want to turn that sideways. So when you've absorbed all this information here, just go ahead and get rid of these LCDs so you can generate some additional space for you. Now, before we start determining what we want to do in that regard as far as the placement, I want you to take note that this line here is pretty much a break wall for armoring. So maybe you don't want to gamble with some of these devices as they set in. Maybe they're a little bit more explodey than you'd like. So what you could do is wall off the compartment here, and whatever block of your choosing, steel, probably combat or hardened steel would be more ideal. So obviously we can see that this has diminished our cargo capacity a good bit, but we are protected against chain mitigation. Now, if you're more of the gambling type, you're comfortable with your flying abilities and not too worried about the enemy, and yeah, feel free to make the most of this. Now, okay, so what are we looking at here? The ST, this is going to be a strafing thrust flag. VT is vertical thrust. So let's go ahead and start looking at our upgrade options for thrust. So we have a number of options with the medium jets. Generally, it's going to be one for each direction, with the exception of down thrust. And forward thrust has these as well as... actually, it has double. 2, reverse should be 2. And forward thrust also has some supplemental thrusters beyond the medium jet. So let's take a look at that. Now, it's going to be our thruster block here that we want to remove in order to accommodate our jets. So we would want to keep pushing back till we get to the X there. Right? That's going to be a placement there. If we want something supplemental, we have this little white dash right there marking a upgrade slot. So see, we got the plus sign. Just keep removing. And that would be our last block there. And then so we could slot in a medium of some description, or a 3x1 rather. So it could be like an advanced or just one of the standard 3x1s, and that would be fine. But that could be forward thrust there. Maybe you want to change our color scheme to be a little bit more stylish. Something like that, yeah, looks a lot better. Maybe red. Alright, what a beauty. Alright, so that would be forward thrust there. Really robust. Now keep in mind with Reforged Eden 2, maybe you don't need to slot in this here, and then you can just upgrade these to plasma and really make it versatile in regards to agility. Alright, so that's forward. Now reverse. We would just take out these little ring sections here, Obviously, our dual mounts there, and that's going to be it. Now, this block here, that's going to be for our straight thrusts. And that would be our reverse right there. Something like that. Maybe you want to black out the thruster. Maybe you want to color it. It's entirely up to you. All right, so that's a reverse thrust. Now, we do have a additional option here on this lower section. This little dot right there, so we'd want to remove that till we get to that X. So you could do like a maybe a 2x1 or a 3x1 thruster configuration there. That would be fine as well. Again, with Reforged Eden 2, maybe you don't need to do that because of the ability to upgrade thrusters. So for Vanilla and Reforged Eden 1, that could be configuration right there. Now, straight thrust, pretty much an easy tell here. We want to look for these white dashes. Get rid of that. Alright, so that plus, we want to remove. And now we've completely opened up this section here. That's what that ST was for. So either you could punch out from the inside of the cabin going out, or you could from the outside going in. Either way is fine. Alright. Whichever is easy for you. So we want to push this all the way up flush. So again, this line here is our demarc for armoring up if we want to mitigate from chain. So that's okay. That would be our straight thrust. That's pretty much our permanent placement there. Now we have some optional stuff at the front here. So we could do some 2x1s if you want to. So using this orange marker as a guide, and we could take that. Maybe you want to go like that. That could be additional strafe thrust there. Maybe we want to hit that third one, or rather, instead of that, what we could possibly do is we could alternate that over to a lift thrust, or maybe even down thrust. Whatever you feel you need to upgrade. So, like, this could be a down thrust, and this could be additional lift thrusts. However you want to configure that. It could be additional strafe, it could be lift, it could be down thrust. And you want to make this one a full-size block so it blends a little better. Maybe we didn't remove that, so now we got something that looks a little bit better. And maybe with this, maybe you want to have like maybe angled block would look a little bit better in that regard. Yeah, that's not too bad. Alright, so that would be for Strafe. Again, with Reforged Eden too, maybe one of the better routes is just to upgrade the stuff in place, and rather than having to push these in, because these were steel blocks and good for additional armor. Now we've got a sore spot with these thrusters here, so just keep that in mind. Alright, so that would be our reverse, our forward thrust, and our strafe right there. Now let's look at our down thrust. A few options here. We have these in place, these mediums, but if we wanted to, we can swap these out for a 3x1. So that would be one placement there, and then for an additional placement, we're looking for this block here. Okay, so it's going to be bumped up against the fuel tank, so it's going to be a little bit nasty there. So that's about it. Now, again, maybe you want a little bit more down thrust, and that could be accommodated up here at the front. Maybe you want to work out some of these strafe and add additional downs. That's okay. That'll be up to you. Okay, so, all right, for everything resolved here now, we're just looking at a little bit more lift. So we had these here as an option. Now for our jets, it's kind of an obvious tell here, so we just want to take these out. And again, you could be looking at it from the inside. So vertical thrust, VT, so we would just take all these blocks out. Okay. Oh yeah, we gotta take this last one here. That's right. Keep pushing until we get to the X on that one side. All right, so that's it. That would be all of our thrust replacements. Yeah, it's absolutely more of a robust thrust situation over the Sarissa, for those that are familiar with it. Very agile now, pretty much in every scenario. Okay, so this leaves us whatever we got left here on the inside again if we wanted to block off all of these devices to protect against chain. That's an option. Again, the H is if we want to expand our harvest cargo, and the A is for ammo. So we got a couple options here for our CPU, generators, all that sort of thing. Take a look at our shield placement as well, Pentaxid. Take note that now you got a couple options here. How the ship's going to perform will be determined by your use of inventory space, your placement with the cargo section. Now, it can accommodate a warp drive, and then whatever you got left for devices, it should be somewhat decent as like a scout. However, if you opt to take out the warp drive and utilize the space for additional CPU or shield extenders or something like that, that'll go a long way to making it more of a fighter role. Now, for vanilla, that's kind of determined. You could fit the warp drive and the shield and some additional generators, and you'd be good to go. You'll be all around in that regard. But for curiosity's sake, let's go ahead and take a look at our warp drive, which is apparently a CV warp drive. Yeah. Disregard that. This always gets me. I'm looking for a warp drive instead of a jump drive. So with this placement here, we want to rotate it so that it's vertical, and then that'll slot in like that. So we still got a good amount of space if we don't fill up with armor blocks. Even if we did, we'd still have a little bit of space left. So we could do a number of things here. Shield right there. Additional CPU probably in this area. Whatever configuration you determine, that's completely up to you. Pentaxid tank. So we can see that even with the jump drive slotted in, we still got a little bit of space left for, for like a Reforged Eden 1 or 2, we can get a few extenders in there, or maybe that would need to be dedicated to generators. Now, again, if we're not doing the jump drive, we're just maybe like a carrier-based fighter or something like that, it'll definitely open up to a lot more additional device placements. So could be a number of things, more generators, shield extenders. I think, yeah, should be pretty certain for a fusion generator placement, possibly for Reforged Eden 2. Yeah, okay, right. So that could be placed in. That would be your one and only. That would also give you some additional shield recharge. So yeah, pretty robust. A lot of compartment space there for you to work with, depending on how you lay it out, and whether you're mitigating its chain reaction or not. But that's all of our extended devices. Let's go ahead and look at our weapon placement, radar for Reforged Edens, and some other supplemental stuff on the outside. So we got a number of things we could do with this back section here. This is a industrial cargo box on the back. Maybe we don't want that. Maybe we want to do like a trauma center or a trauma station placement, and then that could be a placement right there, or potentially a ungainly lung chamber placement if you want to do that. Yeah, there it is. At least blend it with some color. I guess it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's pretty close. So maybe that looks a little bit better. One's a little bit better. Right. So, okay, so let's look at our turret placements. We got 2 permanent ones. Something like that. You're going to be looking for the cabinet texture there. This little thing right here, that's going to be the center for the turret placement. That gives us good, 2 good positions there. Help with drone defense. Maybe a little bit of supplemental attack. Now, we can place a 3rd one here. Let's see, let me get a smaller block here so it's more discernible. Okay, so we want to avoid removing that LCD projector. We're just going to go ahead and get rid of these thin blocks here. Alright, so now we're left with the option where we could do a off-center turret placement. Or for the Reforged Eden scenarios, if we want to do a radar placement, we're just going to have to remove that detector, and then that'll open us up for RE2. Again, that's off-center, but not too bad. Alright, so that's something like a scout. Yeah, so that's our exterior devices here. Take note with this area, this armor locker kind of blends in pretty good, so maybe you'll overlook that. So we got an armor locker, we have a O2 station, and a fridge. Okay. Now, for weapon mounts, got a number of options. We're going to be looking for the white dashes here. So for example, this would be a start here. This is the start of a run. We're going to push back, obviously, till we get to the X. That could be a placement. Clean us up. This could be another placement right there. Now, on the bottom, we have 2 placements. So let's take a look at that. So first, we would want to get rid of this block here with the white dash to begin. And we push back. And again, over here, we want to push back till we get to the same spot. Alrighty. So if we wanted to, we could go for like a pair of light weapons. Or maybe we want to do a pair of heavies there. Pretty sick. Now, okay, so that's a few options, and also we have this here as a placement, this white dash, so how far you want to put that back determines on you. Something like that. It's starting to crowd up a little bit, so maybe you don't want to do all of that, and also there's a number of other options. But for like Reforged Eden 1 and 2, I'm sorry, Reforged Eden 1, and maybe Vanilla, you've got a number of guns that you can place out, so maybe you'll use all these slots. Now, for a top mount, something if you want to use like peak terrain in order to snipe off turrets or something from the base. Now, that's a potential placement. You could utilize the wings as well, so it doesn't look too bad. Yeah. Again, here's an option. This was a placement for the original Sarissa, so that pretty much can be used the same way as well here. Now, you'll probably hit your weapon cap before that using some of these rear placements, though, for Reforged Eden 2, but for, like, Reforged Eden 1, you might have to end up dipping into that if you want to max out some of the guns. So something else we got here, we do have some supplemental thruster placement. For some 3x1s. So if we're not happy with Strafe, we've utilized these positions here. We want a little bit more. We want to be more robust. What we could do is pushing on that white dot there. So it'd kind of be shared with the weapon mount, so keep that in mind. Like that would be a stop point right there. So that white dash. I show what I'm talking about. This run right here, this is going to be both the brake line for this thruster and also for the weapon mount. So that would be like that, and then that'd be the break point for the weapon mount. And for strafe, you know, if you want some additional strafe, you just keep going. And just like that. Yep. Very robust, very agile once we've got all the CPU in and all that good stuff. Needs more generators. Alright, so one more thing I want to go over you with, which is the color configuration. Again, pointing out the LCDs coming with it. We have a number of options here. Just want to show you how we're going to do our color change. So, and again, this is our default. This is our first color option. And once again, on the workshop poster is going to be an additional color distribution, ranging up to, I think it's 8 or 9 colors. So if we're not happy with our stock purple here, we have options to change that. So in order to change the color, we just go to configure. We have our texture and color tool. I right click, again hit configure at the top left. While holding down shift, you're going to left click, and then what you want to do is paste. There we go, we've changed our color configuration. So, of course, same thing if we want to switch back. So just want to copy this numerical value. So we're going to do Control-C. And this is the first time, right-click with the color texture tool, hit configure. And at the top left here, hold down shift to the bottom right. And then left-click, hit paste, and then hit OK. Our color's locked in. That's it. Simple as that. That's it, ladies and gentlemen, for the Phoenix Starworks Starlancer. Upgrade to the Sarissa. Until next time, LyfeForce out. Hey folks, if you enjoy my content, please consider becoming a patron today. As a patron, you gain access to exclusive builds not featured on the workshop, early access builds, as well as participate in a number of things, including polls, feedback, comments, suggestions, ideas, or anything you'd like to submit to current and future builds. If any of this appeals to you, please consider becoming a patron today. Link in the pinned comment below. Thank you.